You're listening to Burn Rate and Bullshit,
the show where founder suits and corporate clowns all get called the fuck out.
We're Josh Robinson and Mike Nathan, entrepreneurs turned VCs.
With zero filters, strong opinions, and a bullshit detector set to high.
Welcome to the only business podcast that actually tells it like it is.
I'm a desperate man. Send lawyers, guns, and money. This shit has hit the fan.
Let's get real. Most corporate DEI programs are about as deep as a TikTok trend. Companies slap a rainbow on the logo in June, but you can't find a single woman executive 12 months out of the year. Time to torch the bullshit and see who's actually building something that lasts.
Somewhere there's a C-suite congratulating itself for sponsoring Diversity Bagel Day, while the same four old white guys are cashing their bonuses. Diversity doesn't mean anything if it's just a deck filler or performance art in the boardroom. Let's call it what it is.
Speaking of old white guys.
Oldish.
Mature. Formerly young. Formerly youthful.
Formerly fit.
Formerly fit. White guys. No one more qualified to talk about diversity.
Feel good about this space.
Equity, is that the E? Equity and inclusion.
Yep.
Than us.
Right. Our take should be meaningful to a large audience, I'm sure. But honestly,
well, depending on who they voted for in the last presidential election.
That's probably has something to do with it. And there's ooh. Too soon. The politics get hot right away.
Tough water.
But DEI is probably one of the most misused, misunderstood tools / traps you can have in any corporate culture, right? The thing that we seem to be swinging in a pendulum where DEI used to be the gold standard, and if you didn't have it, you were a racist, redneck asshole who didn't have a brain in his or her head. Now, if you have DEI, you're like the People's Republic of South Dakota, Minnesota, all wrapped into one if you even think about recognizing any of it. There's a happy medium, right?
You tell me.
Well, here's what I would say. The happy medium is this. I'm going to break this into maybe two camps like we often do, which is there's early startup phase companies and there's more mature, really wide-reaching companies. In early stage startup companies, holy shit, does culture matter. Culture, belief system, a worldview. You have to be so aligned that you can't, if we're all wearing red today, we're all wearing red. I don't want diversity of, hey, well, I feel like pink today or I feel like purple. It's so important early days to have that alignment, to have that culture that everybody is sort of the same, what do they call it? Groupthink. Where you do need that. And I think that is your secret weapon in early stage. So the idea that there's a requirement in addition to, hey, by the way, don't worry about just growing on your merits, growing from your results, doing all the things. There's this additional layer of making sure you check the box somehow on some DEI. You frankly don't have time for that. You barely have time for customer service. Right? Or you barely have time for a lot of different things, time, energy, or focus on a lot of things. So I wouldn't, as an early stage company, understand where DEI comes in. It's likely not in the first days, first moments of any particular startup, because you've got to figure out your business first, right? Your business first, you are who you are as a corporate citizen later. So I think people get this backwards, or because I'm DEI, I'm a better company, more profitable, you should invest more dollars, I'm more valuable somehow. And that's just not the case.
I wonder if it's worthwhile defining what DEI means.
Please.
If you ask 10 people, you're going to get at least 10 answers, right?
Do you have Webster's Dictionary's definition of the type of? Give it a crack.
I don't. But so for me, though, as I think about companies that we look to invest in, companies that we've helped run before, a diverse set of experiences and backgrounds around the table when you're debating product market fit, when you're debating a particular point, that diversity is helpful to have different backgrounds and experiences represented at the table. That's a really broad stroke. I see people talk to DEI oftentimes in my opinion, a narrow view of maybe gender, but certainly ethnicity, sexual orientation, and those can be important. And there's a lot more in terms of diverse background and experiences than just someone's sexual orientation or the color of their skin, I believe. And I think that's where people get pigeonholed, is they are only looking at those things to check the box on, are we diverse? Do we have equity? Are we being inclusive?
I absolutely think, I'll call it pre-COVID or during COVID, George Floyd, which was so big here in Minneapolis or up in the upper Midwest. When I think about DEI at its highest point, there was so many, again, performative, check the box. Hey, I have a black person on my board. I have a Hispanic woman. I have insert something that somebody felt was diverse just for being diverse, right? There was no merit to it other than that label to the corporation. No, did they do anything with it outside of there?
Look at how many Fortune 500 companies have a chief diversity officer that's a black female named Lakeisha.
Yep.
And they think, okay, done. It's like, well, what authority
what's the funding?
did you give that person? What mandate do they have?
What are they going to do for the business?
Can they walk into a room with their peers and actually drive a decision in a certain direction or not? And almost universally, the answer is no. They have no authority. They have no budget.
And I do think we societally, to some degree, recognize we need to put more substance there, which is why classically then it comes back as a backlash. Well, if you hire anybody DEI who do anything try to be inclusive, you're a dick. You're a monster somehow. So I think we're swinging back the other way. But you're right. The business function of DEI for me, and maybe this is a purely capitalistic or like just a business operator, like I want people who believe what I believe. Everyone's going to get promoted on merit, results driven. That's how this is going to go. Nobody gets special points for anything. And sometimes when I back that train up, my best results, merit driven, sometimes will come from someone with a completely different background than me. It's not going to be the straight white guy from central Minnesota. It's going to be the inner city kid from Atlanta that has a different take on this and has been through it and can offer a really good solution or a way to think about something or a way to frame something that I don't just have, or maybe the entire company doesn't have. That's where I think diversity is your strength. You can make a lot of really good decisions in spite of your own upbringing, cultural biases, however you want to think about it. That's where it becomes a superpower, is when you can pull that and recognize that's a fantastic idea and bring it forward. And I think we're articulating where it just seems so hollow. The bigger the company you are, the more it doesn't do anything other than, I'll use this. I'm a veteran. It pisses me off to no end. To people, support your veterans, you're your veterans. Veterans, please apply here. Okay, let me apply to your job. I'll make it up. U.S. Bank. It might not be U.S. Bank, but it probably fucking is. U.S. Bank, we want veterans to come hire. What do you need? 10 years of this exact experience, a master's degree, and they'll rip through the list. Well, I'm sorry. Where the fuck was the veteran-friendly piece to this? They say it with their mouth. They say it with their PR. A bank isn't going to give a veteran a loan just because he or she's a veteran.
No.
They're just using you as you're a fucking segment you're a segment in your marketing plan. That's what it is. And I fear DEI sometimes can look like that too. There's nothing meaningful. In fact, they're exploitative to it, right? Like, hey, I'm going to try to appeal to Asian gay men by doing or saying something. What are you actually doing for that community? Are you doing anything?
Where do you go from there, Mike?
Where do you go? So what are the merits of DEI? What do you think they are? Are there places that you clearly, or you've worked for billion-dollar companies, so have I, but you more recently than me, have you seen like, oh yeah, that made sense. That was.
I would say the bigger the company, the less often I would say, yeah, that makes sense.
Take your time. Take your time. Yeah. Think back and think of the time.
The other issue I have with the broad stroke of DEI is each one of those letters is very different in my mind.
Right.
And it seems as if everyone just lumps them all together. So you've got the and I think even our conversation has done that to the extent so far.
We just did it, yeah.
So, the diversity part, I don't know if it's because, I don't know why, if it's the first letter in the acronym or what, that's where people tend to focus on it most. But the equity piece, and this is where I think people that have the counter argument to some of the pieces you just brought up, have a fairly legitimate claim. And that is the equity side of it is, okay, great, we're going to judge everyone based off of merit. There are certain groups that just don't have the same ability to get those types of experiences to be eligible for the job, right? There's the equity component to it. So how are you equitable? There are some companies I've seen do an okay job, again, from a middle class, affluent, what are we calling ours? Aspiringly wealthy.
Aspiringly independently wealthy.
White guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. As that, I see this as a really good measure. I was at a company in the C-suite, senior VP and above, C-suite execs, each had a mentee from an underrepresented group or population within the organization.
Love that.
And our role was to coach them on their current role to make doors open for them throughout the organization in areas that they were interested in exploring and a career path that they potentially wanted to see, to help open doors, make introductions. It was definitely still merit-based. These individuals weren't being promoted just because of the diversity they represented. They were given opportunities that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have. That worked really well there. Could that work as well in other companies? I would hope so. And it might not. There might be systemic things in an organization that maybe prevent that from being helpful. Inclusive, kind of that third part of DEI, I personally struggle with for a couple of reasons. One, my just ethos, how I show up in the world, is I don't give a flying fuck what people do in their personal lives. Whether it's dramatically different than mine or exactly the same as mine, I don't really give a shit. And so that to me is being inclusive. I don't care. Do whatever the hell you want, as long as it's legal, that doesn't bother me. That to me is inclusive. When people are showing up in the workplace and being disruptive by being their authentic self,
right? I
struggle with that.
Yes.
And to try to avoid that disruption, it's very easily a line that you have to tiptoe of being not inclusive anymore.
Right.
And so the inclusive piece of DEI, I personally struggle with how you lead that from the C-suite. Frankly, lead that from any level, just as a frontline manager, and you've got a team of 10 people. This is our 7th episode. This has been good enough, right? I can say something that'll get us canceled.
Yeah, I'm sure. Canceled off of YouTube. That's hard to do, but I am tracking.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Famous, the last fucking words.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. I love everything you said. Something struck me as you were talking. We'll say this probably, or at least I'll say it in every fucking episode. Rule 1 is make payroll. Mm-hmm. You have an obligation to make sure your people are taken care of, then the investors, then the stakeholders in a wider group.
Yep.
That's your number one focus, and everything else after that's a little bit of a luxury. I think about DEI in some terms, not all of them, but in some terms, I think about like, hey, let's have, as the CEO of a company, I want to make sure everybody has a good work-life balance. I want that to happen.
Yeah.
But then if we're going to be audited by CMS and I need everybody to spend 20 hours at the office for a week straight, well, there went that idea. Mm-hmm. There went that goal of trying to have a great work-life balance for everybody. If you wanted to do hot yoga every Thursday at 2, as one example, making that up. I would want to have that, but if we have people to see, we're going to ask that, that goal doesn't supersede the main thing. I think about DEI similarly, the way you just said, if it interrupts, if it starts to now get in the way, right? Like Good DEI adds to what you're doing, adds to your culture, your talent pool, your thinking. Bad DEI distracts from you being a winner in the marketplace. And they don't always have to be mutually exclusive. But anyway, that was the thing I was thinking about when you said that. You have so many competing priorities, and it's a luxury for you to consider DEI, especially how cutthroat startup business can be, right, and how perilous it can be. One of the things when I think about DEI, especially in the startup space, I'll share with you a story, and I can't believe I almost forgot this, but I'll share with you a story. So when George Floyd died, and there had been a couple instances, there had been a couple incidences before that where my wife, Sarah, had taken notice around our experience in healthcare. We were able to get a doctor or a nurse on the line very quickly with your phone or with an iPad or something, telemedicine, right?
Yeah.
Super easy. Her idea was, why can't we do telelegal? Let's get an attorney with the same sort of visual and audio inputs where they could be in the car with you, be in the situation with you as your attorney. Brilliant idea. And this was in the wake of George Floyd because we felt we wanted to do something. So I take my wife's idea, I take Sarah's idea, I rally around a business model, but let's do it through an app, let's do it through a phone, and let's try to do something. This is a really cool idea. Number one, it's telelegal. That's amazing, for one. Mm-hmm. Number two, there were a lot of people in minority positions, minority cultures that didn't feel super safe. It was a twofer, mm-hmm, right? So we were going to take this company to market. It's now called Turn Signal. There was a real sense of, I don't know if I or my wife have the voice. I don't have the right standing to put this forward for all the, I think, what I now believe is all the right reasons. And so we intentionally sought out, we'd never done something like this before, to be clear, but we intentionally sought out people of color to take the company over and run it. Mm-hmm. And so we worked with the local university, and who had, one of the lowest white percentage of students that there were. They had like 36% was white, the rest were people of color. We went to that college and that MBA program, Augsburg College in Minneapolis, said, hey, give us some of your hot shots. And so we got a chance to meet Dre, Michael, Jazz now through that whole process. And we literally said, here's the company, go with it. Make this something. So is that DEI? What is that? I don't want to say it's white savior or anything, but it is this idea of, there are times you can recognize, yeah, I'm not the right person for that. Mm-hmm. Not the right face of it. I don't have the right voice. Good idea, but let's empower.
Well, you didn't have the right backgrounds and experiences.
That too.
To resonate with the intended market, the customer, right, for that product.
We Sarah and I leaned into our entrepreneurial spirit, how to go from 0 to 1, right? Get it off the ground, get it fundraised, get it going, and then let's just see where it goes. And they're still around. They're kicking butt right now. Turn Signal is an app that's used for post accidents. If you ever stopped with the law enforcement officer, you can have the whole thing recorded up to the cloud. It keeps everybody safe. I mean, it's a beautiful, awesome company, and I'm really proud of how Sarah and I dealt with that. Yeah. About how, some people are like, here's my idea, I'm going to hoard this. I need to keep everything for myself. This is one where we intentionally said, nope, we're not the right people for this, period. We moved on from that.
That is a cool story.
Fun story there.
That's an example. I see that as an example of DEI. It's different than how most people would think of application of DEI, and I think it's a good example.
I think about the equity piece. Sorry, I didn't say that. Yeah. It's that equity piece that you were talking about. Like, how do you give people different experiences, access to opportunity in a way that, that's intentional?
Yeah.
That was our big E.
Well, what are some other examples of DEI at large? So companies listeners would have likely heard of. What are some that have gone well? Who's doing it right today? Who's doing it wrong? What are some really great stories that you've heard of doing it well or doing it wrong?
So I think there's a couple of programs within the federal and state government. They have disabled service person or disabled serviceman awards of contract. And you quite literally get more points if as you work through a point system. If you're a minority, if you're a veteran, if you were hurt, if you were disabled, run on down that list. That has helped a lot of people in a really meaningful way. And I think that some of the state contracts that allow them to have access to bid for some of these really large contracts, that's a really big step up, because likely the smaller independent guys and gals can't bid with the big boys who are the multi-billion-dollar. They're not white, they're not black, they're just billion-dollar entities that you can't compete with. And the government has, at least in the past, have said, we're going to recognize that and we want to include some of these people into what we're doing. I think that's worked well. Now, some people game the thing, of course.
Well, I was just going to say, I know a half a dozen guys that
do it,
gave
right?
51% of the company to their wives so they could
There's
qualify
that
as
too.
a female-owned.
Yeah. So I like that scheme. I like when it's bona fide. Obviously, I think we're saying the same thing when I say the bona fide attempts at that, I think, are the ones that are admirable. The people that are trying to, like you said, my wife is 51% owner. Great.
It's funny. Was this like last year? It was within the last couple of years. Target, which is in our backyard, headquartered in our backyard, really has prided itself on being a DEI first type of company. And pick the underrepresented community. There's a red bullseye somewhere along the right. 2 years ago, 1 year ago, they pulled back on their contribution to the Twin Cities Pride Parade. Did you remember hearing about this?
Yes, I did.
They didn't pull it back to zero, but I think they cut it in half. I mean, legitimately, times were tough, right? Yeah. This was coming out of the hangover of COVID. They realized, holy shit, we didn't know what we were doing. So they had a lot of financial issues. So they pulled back on that. And the gay mafia went insane.
Did they?
Oh my God. Boycotts.
What's the deal?
If the gay people quit shopping at Target, who's left?
Just me, I guess.
Bunch of middle-aged white women.
What happens if I keep it, try not to be too political here, but keep it on the other spectrum. What happened with Bud Light when they decided to have was it a trans person or a gay person on their a beer commercial? I think it wasn't even a commercial. I think it was just a promo or something.
I don't even think the ad campaign launched. I think it was just like the teaser of the campaign.
And they lost their shit. The public lost their shit. Like, I'm not supporting Bud Light anymore. I'm like, first of all, it's the shittiest beer you could think of. So big deal you're not supporting that beer. But that's the hill you die on, is the trans Bud Light person.
Yeah. Huh. What kills me about that whole story is then Modelo, which is a Mexican beer, has now become the number one beer. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, it cracks me up. So the Target story would tell me what they were doing for DEI wasn't real. That was more for show than actually making a difference because of the backlash when a small piece of what they were doing, they pulled back on.
I wonder how Target would, I'll say, justify their pullback. Not that you need to justify. Hey, if you're giving money to people to throw parades in your retail store, you're within your rights to pull all that parade money back. Whether it's for Veterans, St. Patrick's Day, Pride Parade, whatever it is. But I wonder how they justified it. Was it just completely like, hey, we're not so into DEI anymore? Or was it more of like, budgets are hard, we got to cut back?
But I remember that it was more of that. Yeah. And I think part of the problem was probably they didn't get in front of it fast enough or soon enough. And so it just...
under this new administration, you do not look... I mean, universities have to worry about their policies around affirmative action, right? You have to worry about a bunch of these things, right or wrong, DEI, affirmative action, some of these things, it has real consequences at times with this administration. And clearly what we've learned through Bud Light and even the Target thing is the market wants to get involved somehow, and sort of being this term. I frankly don't care for it. I mean, I'll go back to what you said. I don't give a shit what you do in your spare time as long as it's legal. I'm Target. I provide you with $3 fucking deodorant. you're really going to make some principled stand on that? Or on Bud Light, I'm like the Pinto of beers. There's no principle there. Stand, I guess, if you're going to make a stand on. If Target said, hey, we're not going to allow any more gays to be in our stores, yeah, then I think you have a right to stand up and bitch about what Target's doing. They're still funding your parade, partially, right? I don't know. If you're looking to Target or Bud Light to be your source of courage,
there's more to unwrap there.
Yeah, there's more to unwrap in a real big way.
So DEI is a business imperative. We would both agree on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Not PR cover, or shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. And I think I'll repeat classically what I said earlier, is I do think everything like that has its place, like work-life balance, DEI, kombucha on tap. If you can do it, do it. It's not the reason anybody gave you money. You have a legal fiduciary responsibility as board member, executive team, whatever, to make sure your company continues moving forward. And it likely gives you a better chance if you've got a DEI program that's not performative. If it's a real DEI program, it's additive to all of your efforts.
I would argue, just as a good leader, you should be looking at the team around you, your direct reports, and ask the question of, as a group, do we bring a diverse set of perspectives to the table?
Yeah.
At any given question that we have to go through, are we approaching it in a multifaceted way? Are all 7 of us, all 8 of us, all 3 of us looking at it the exact same way?
Yeah, I think that most relates or is close to, when you go from like $0 to your first million, it's kind of a big deal. Then you go from $1 to $10 million, like, oh my God. When you go from 1 to 10 and you start to push beyond, that executive team, that you're calling upon to have some sense of this, they just naturally start to say, who else needs to be on our board? Who else broadens our experience? They start to do it in that sense as they get bigger, right? Yeah. And it's not because they want to feel better about themselves. What they want to do is make sure you're covering off on all the bases. When you're a startup company, you start thinking about, I need broader experiences. That to me is the most natural time where DEI does come in. Because you are realizing you have to go from the small core, the unit, if you're, in the military, God core unit, you think about it this way. Everyone needs to be thinking the same thing, doing the same thing until you can't anymore. And then I need more people doing way different things and people thinking about things differently than back in the survival unit days. When you burst past 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 10 million in revenue, that's when you need to start thinking about, are we all the same idiot?
Yeah.
I need a different set of perspectives on a whole host of things. That to me is when...
So you would argue you don't need to think about DEI at day one.
I don't think you do. I guess it might depend on your business to some degree. And to be clear, because I would be anti-DEI, I wouldn't be like pro-racist or pro-exclusion, right? I wouldn't be any of those things. I just think when you're starting off, it is a super humbling, harrowing time. When you start a company, you better be laser motherfucking focused. You don't have the luxury of considering anything else. You've got the one thing to do: repeatable, teachable business model. I got to get that down. I got to get the profitability. Everything else is the rear view mirror. It's secondary. So I do think it's not a must have when you start. It's just not. Just like, but I also wouldn't be, exclusionary. I'm not anti, the anti of whatever that is. You don't have time for that either.
Yeah.
Like, hey, whites only, this is the whites only startup, or, this is Asians only startup, or whatever club or clan you want to put it in together. That's nonsense. That's a waste of energy and focus. That's even performative.
That's interesting. I don't disagree with that. And so where's that inflection point?
So I think where I was saying that inflection point is, I think when you've had success, repeatable success, and you're now starting to become a bigger company, and you need, I'll say this, it could
still be your second hire. conceivably.
Theoretically, so let's say you've got a lawn mowing company. You're doing lawn mowing, and you've got so much business. I only need lawnmowers the first dozen or so hires. Mm-hmm. Then eventually I'm going to need somebody to pick up the phone and answer the phone. Because I can't answer because I'm out doing bidding jobs or I'm supervising people. Then I got to get supervisors. Then eventually I got to get a staff accountant. Mm-hmm. Then I might need a maintenance guy or gal. You start to I need to be bigger and broader. I need to be more of a thing to keep the thing rolling. Yeah. I have more systems. I have more roles. I need more functionality in my core business. When you start realizing, okay, I haven't got it. I'm all across the metro. I'm over in Wayzata one day and I'm over in Afton the other. Maybe I have regional people. And you just start to naturally sort of fill in the gaps of where you need functionality. When you're doing that, I think is when DEI pops into your head. It's silly as that sounds, because it's no longer just you and the 5 lawnmowers, right? In this lawnmower analogy I'm doing. You need to be thinking differently, bigger, wider, broader. And that broader, wider, deeper thinking is where you will thrive, where you'll find the benefit in DEI. Where you'll find the benefit of not all thinking the same. In fact, it'll be an anchor if you still do think the same as you're growing.
I would argue, though, as a founder, you have to just implicitly be thinking in a way that is consistent with DEI principles, even though you may not be practicing that, right? Because if people are going to see how you show up as a founder, how you're interacting, and if some point down the road, all of a sudden you just change and are going in, it feels like you're going in a different direction, it's going to feel disconnected.
Yeah.
Who's the real Mike Nathan? Yeah. Right? The guy before, the guy now. And so I agree with you. You may not put everything into practice because either you can't or you shouldn't for business reasons. And you need to be thinking that way. Yeah. Your frame of mind needs to be in that context.
Completely agree.
Do you agree?
Yeah. I again, there's nothing I'm not proposing or thinking. I don't even know of a scenario where this would make sense, but where you're anti-DEI.
Yeah, I can't.
Like that. Like that's like my stance. Like no. Everyone needs to be just like me. Period. Not if you're a real hustler, gangster. You want people. I need who can kick ass. Who can kick in a door? Who can get a result? Mm-hmm. Merit-based only. That's first and foremost. If you're thinking about something else, people do this all the time. People will hire a resume. Oh, they come from United Health Group. They come from some big deal company, some multi-billion-dollar entity. Yep. Well, that's where they come from. Don't care. Can they do anything? Mm-hmm. That's how I think you have to be ruthless as a founder, those early stages. So I think that, but it's not anti anything to your earlier point. I think you just have to be focused on the one thing, which is results. And it's not anti-DEI.
I would agree with that. What are the lies that founders or CEOs tell themselves about DEI then? Lies in terms of reasons not to do it, lies in terms of, I'm really great at this.
What are the lies they tell?
We had a female Asian co-founder in one of our companies.
We did.
Were we strong on DEI?
Ish. I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
I think we were.
Yeah.
And not because of those reasons necessarily. I would say, so if you look at the core executive team in that company, very different background than I brought as CFO. She, as the chief operating officer, she was a social worker by background. I mean, so just very different. We're really diverse in terms of backgrounds, experience, expertise that we brought to the table.
Yeah.
Now, you can argue that a lot of that's informed because of your ethnicity, your gender, whatever. But I asked that question because I don't know what lies people tell themselves. I mean, the obvious one for not doing it would be, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work.
The other one I was thinking about is, and so I'll cut open a vein, live streaming TV. So, we work with, a university fund, Exit 156. We're trying to find entrepreneurial women. Mm-hmm. I don't have a ton in my network. I need to work at finding them. Mm-hmm. They're there. They're not zero, but they're not there. It might be similar to, again, Hispanic trans person. I don't have a lot of them on speed dial. I don't have a lot of friends in that niche or friends of friends, or I don't have acquaintances that I would know. So a lie might be like, well, just they're not around. I don't know any of them.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're there, but I would even just say, I don't know a ton of people in the DEI scenario where you'd be like, I need DEI. Let's open the, what was it, Romney? I've got binders of women.
Yeah,
let's open up the binders of whatever you want. So, and I also don't think that's authentic. So I think the lies people tell them is like, there's nobody qualified. I don't know anybody. They're not available. That could be true for your own personal sake, but it's not true generally. So I think you need to be really intentional about it.
I can't believe I forgot that. We hear that one a lot, specifically around female founders. Yeah. Well, there's not that many out there.
There's not.
And the truth is, well, yes, and the truth really is about half of every company is started by a woman. Yeah. Well, here's the thing though, it's companies that are solopreneur type businesses.
They're not funded well.
They're not funded well for a lot of reasons. One of which is they may not need funding, or the founder has grown it to a point that she's comfortable managing it and doesn't want it bigger, or doesn't know what that next step would be to make it bigger and still prioritize the other things that are important in her life.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of female founders out there. It's just they don't show up in the same ways that traditionally male founders would show up.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the structure around startup world financing is been built with that context of how men typically show up in that space.
So a bunch of finance bros are running it.
It's a bunch of Patagonia vests.
So how would you answer somebody when I'm thinking about that? Like, well, why are you looking for a female? Why don't you just take the best business idea? Why would you look for a female one? What's the counter argument to that? I think I know what you might say, but the counter argument to that is what?
So full disclosure, we've invested in 3 companies in our first fund to date, 2 of which are female founded. Both of them, it's not impossible, never say never. I have a really difficult time imagining a man coming up with those ideas. And both of those women have their husbands involved in the companies.
Yep.
Even those men, those individual men, I have a hard time thinking would have come up with the ideas that these women did. And it's because, one of them was a nurse by background and training.
That's right. Yep.
And developed a technology tool that's driving some real meaningful change in nursing. And the other one we've talked about before on this, Clo Foods. It was in response to a life debilitating issue that one of her children had.
That's right.
And so again, men can be nurses, men can be the nurturing one at home. That's traditionally not the roles that a lot of men.
Well, I was just sharing with Sarah. Sarah's the founder of Turn Signal.
Mm-hmm.
It was her idea, her thought. And maybe there's something we can be cracking into here about the female entrepreneur. I do think, like, my wife tells me stuff all of the time about, hey, we should try doing something like this. And at first I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? There's no business there. And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, oh, wait a second. And there's another business there doing it. There's something about the power of observation when you're maybe the men are trying to be too machismo and the big deal founder and like, I'm got an idea a minute, and you're probably dumb ideas. and this person who's sitting back and observing saying, hey, what about this thing? And I want to do this. Because I'm thinking about the 2 you just mentioned, thinking about my wife. My wife is really good at not talking about it, but just seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
You should do this and this. There's a gap there. There's a need that needs to be filled.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're the lunkheads, likely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt. So yay, female founders. Let's go. Like and subscribe, ladies. Like and subscribe. All we do is empower women here. That's all we do. Why are you laughing that hard? But we do. It's all we do.
See?
Burn rate, bullshit, and
2/3 of our investments
2/3
are female-founded companies.
half of my spouses.
Half of my spouses.
Wait, that wouldn't make sense, would it?
100% of my spouses.
Yeah, 100%.
You have 2 wives?
Edit that shit out. 100%.
You weren't a math major.
Yeah,
in
well, it
college.
wasn't math.
No,
It wasn't math.
no, not a lot of math done in the poli-sci department.
100% of my spouses. My family from Minnesota, now that's a woman. That's a woman. My family from San Fran, a little different story. DEI, bang, wrap the show. Mic drop. Well, something you did mention earlier does bring up the point that the best DEI is going to be cognitive, not cosmetic. That's the thing.
It is. And that's kind of what I've been getting at with having a diverse set of backgrounds and experiences. It doesn't necessarily mean skin color.
Yeah.
Or other, very commonly used examples of diversity.
Well, I think about when I think of my experience as a veteran, sometimes can be pretty helpful and sometimes pretty harmful to cultural sort of norms. Like sometimes I'm just toughen up, buttercup, fuck off, do it. I don't care. You have to do it. I'm the boss.
We're
do
in the
it.
Navy now. Sailor.
We're in the Navy. Yeah. What do you mean? And then there are other times that doesn't play as well, right? That's like, this is a hostile workplace. He's making me do my job. Right? So, I mean, it can rub both ways.
I wish that was a funny example. But that's actually happened.
Yeah, that does happen. Like pretty please with sugar on top. Do your fucking job.
Yeah.
Is that too much to ask?
If we could get the hashtag pretty please with sugar on top, do your fucking job. That's a long hashtag. But
It's
it
not
would
like
be
it's a
fun.
copyright. Could get a
We
website.
should trademark that.
Website. Note to self. Pretty please website. Pretty please.
Do your fucking job.
Pretty please governor.com. But being a veteran, sometimes you bring that sort of salt with you and that kind of that grit, which again, go back to what we said earlier. Oh, support your veterans, but yeah, they're awesome because they execute, because they don't dick around with dipshit excuses. So if you want to tell me how bringing your dog to work today is going to help you fill out the TPS report, awesome, let's do it. But get the fucking job done, right?
Mm-hmm. That's it for this round of burn rate and bullshit, where the only thing we sugarcoat is our coffee. If you liked what you heard, great. If you didn't, even better. We're not here to make friends.
Hit subscribe, share it with someone who needs a reality check. And remember, cash burns fast, but bullshit burns faster. Don't get caught holding the match.
Send lawyers, guns, and money. This shit has hit the fan.